My name is Hernan. I'm the account director for TGI Media Division. One of my clients is the Earthshot Prize, not your typical client, but they are a charitable organization, and they have been working with us for the past 12 months in collaboration with TGI team. A couple of weeks ago, we held an interview, was recorded just to share with you essentially what Earthshot Prize is, what they do, and how they work with TGI data. So without further ado, let's hear from Stephen, what he has to say about it.
Well, Earthshot Prize was set up by Prince William.
Yep.
In 2019, he was looking at conservation projects. He's very involved in conservation work. He was looking at conservation projects in Namibia, and he was seeing that there were lots of really amazing solutions there, very positive, and they weren't really getting talked about, and they weren't getting scaled up very fast. And he was contrasting that with some of the doom and gloom in the media around climate and the sort of despair that was big up there. And the sort of Earthshot Prize was born out of that gap that he saw that existed into something to address some of these big environmental issues. So we set up the Earthshot Prize, and we're now only, I think we're in our third year, so it still feels like a startup. And essentially we are a global prize and scaling platform for solutions. Mm-hmm. We have 5 Earthshots that we are focused on. So the 5 Earthshots are protect and restore nature, clean our air, revive our oceans, build a waste-free world, and fix our climate.
Wow!
So they're all.
I think our children will be very happy for your work.
They're big, huge issues. They're all slightly interconnected, but a little bit different from each other. So what we essentially do is we look for solutions around the world that are addressing problems across each of those 5 areas, and we give them 1 prize per year per Earthshot. Yeah. So 1 winner each of those Earthshots every year gets a £1 million prize. And then the top 15 every year, we help them scale up. Yeah. So through ourselves, through partners that we work with, we really support them to grow. And then on the other side, that's our kind of scaling side. On the other side, our aim is to turn pessimism around climate into optimism. And our theory of change is urgency plus optimism equals action. Yeah. And we think you need both of those things. If you only have urgency, no optimism, people, it leads to despair. If you only have optimism and no urgency, it leads to complacency. So we're very much trying to lean on both of those things at the same time. And our storytelling team basically take the solutions that we're working with, we spotlight them and the people behind them, and show the general public that there are solutions and that there are things happening that are working. And the idea is through that we can drive change and drive optimism.
Very nice. And for those who thought our jobs were very difficult, so here you go. 5 Earthshot prizes: protect and restore nature, clean our air, revive our oceans, build a waste-free world, and fix our climate. So next winners will be in Singapore this year in November. Last year was in US and UK. This time it will be for a whole new week. And the other thing that I was talking to Stephen back then was how they select their winners. It was very interesting because he said they have this huge amount of pool nominators. And nominators are basically people who go around searching for prototypes that are already working, but eventually what they need is to be scaled up. And one of the good things that the Earthshot Prize has is that they are business model agnostic. So they don't care if it is an NGO, company, a private individual, cities, governments, etc. And in my next video, the other question that I asked Stephen was how they how they use Global Quick View, which is one of the tools that we have.
Where it all started essentially was a need to understand our audiences better. We're in year 3. The first 2 years have really been, it's felt like a startup, and it's been a learning development. We've been putting out comms, and people have responded really well to it. We've grown awareness, we've grown our reach. People have responded really well, but we haven't really been targeting any specific group. We've just been putting stuff out there.
A learning curve, right?
Seeing who responds. And then now we're year 3, we're ready to get much more mature in terms of our audience strategy. And the first thing we wanted to do was get an understanding of who should we try and reach and how do we reach them. Exactly. So we knew we needed a segmentation of some kind. We spoke to a few agencies last year we started talking about segmentation based on environmental attitudes.
Yeah.
We spoke to Kantar sustainability team.
Yep.
And they pretty much had the exact same thing that they already had a segmentation global based on sustainability attitudes. And we essentially adopted that segmentation. And we now look at the world through the lens of the 4 segments that Kantar looks at, which are the actors, considerers, believers, and dismissers.
Yep.
So then what we needed to do was get lots of, understand who are those audiences and what makes them different. So that's where we pulled together the data from the sustainability survey, the global survey, and Global Quick View. We built the segments into Quick View, TGI Global Quick View, and that gave us a real rounded view of who each of those segments were. So we know their attitudes, we know their behaviours in terms of environment, in terms of sustainability. We know who they are in terms of demographics, which has been, we've got so much richness out of Quick View on that. We know what media they consume, whether they're looking at traditional offline media, newspapers, radio, TV, time spent, heavy, medium, and light, all that stuff, whether they're online. And so we've been able to get this really clear, rounded view of those segments, each of the segments and who they are. And that's led to a point where we then were able to identify which segment we wanted to focus on. So we've now got, out of those 4, we've got one that is we're laser focused on that segment as a priority. We've got one that's a sort of secondary priority, and then 2 that we know we aren't interested in, which is equally as important to say who you don't want to focus on. So it's been really, really key to get a clear view of who we want to target and why, and sharing that internally and socializing that internally. There's been it's been some time to do that, and with the agencies that we work with. But now we're really clear on that. The data's basically allowed us to do that. And we now need to do the forward, the next bit is essentially the comms bit.
So yeah, very interesting points there from Stephen. And last couple of weeks when we were having this interview, I asked as well to Stephen how they see using TGI data in the future. And one of the things that he was telling to me was, because they are a global brand, sometimes they need to, for understanding their segments, they need to see them and understand them globally. Because as he was mentioning, they move from continent to continent, country to country every year. And Global Quick View came like a very good opportunity for them to give in this access in one platform to 35 countries. Just to wrap up, my last question to Stephen, and the most important thing was why they choose TGI.
So there's a couple of things spring to mind. The first is Kantar's sustainability and leadership on sustainability. So we spoke to lots of different agencies when we were looking at this work or thinking about this work. Most of them talked about sustainability. Kantar was very much the leader in terms of actually doing the work on sustainability. So you had a global sustainability team led up by Jonathan Hall, and out of all the agencies we spoke to, you were the only one with an actual sustainability team, which was great. So you're doing the work internally, but you're also bringing clients along on the journey with you and helping them think about sustainability. So it's very much your values and our values were aligned in terms of that, which is important to us. The second thing was around the global reach and the global view that Kantar has. So you're across the world, you can reach hundreds of thousands of people on every continent in multiple countries. And that's important for us because, as I said, we're a global brand, so we need the global view. But then because we move countries each year, UK year 1, USA year 2, will be in Southeast Asia, we need to be able to do the deep dive. So having that ability to do big picture and deep dive is really, really crucial, and you can do that. And you've got the credibility. Because you're global, you've got the credibility in all those different places as well. So that's really exciting. And then the last thing is around this sort of ecosystem of solutions that Kantar has, which we can tap into. And they're all using the same segmentation and speaking in the same language. So we can, through the survey, the sustainability survey, we can get the attitudes, we can get the behaviour, some of the behaviour stuff. Through TGI Quick View, we can get the demographics, we can size the segments up in different countries, we can get their consumption behaviour, media consumption. So pulling all that together gives us a much better view. We also know there's other stuff in the wider Kantar group. We can look at, if we wanted to look at what segments we're purchasing, for example, we've got that. If we want to do deep dives, comms testing, which we probably will at some point, we can do that. And we're working with Kantar at the moment actually on a digital activation project. So that's looking at, for our target segment, who are the considerers, we can literally target a specific segment on different social media channel platforms and target calls at them and see how they respond. So that's pretty exciting. That's something we're testing out very soon with the wider concept.
Yes, thank you for listening. That's Earthshot Prize. So you're interested and you want to follow them, feel free to join their YouTube channel, get more information in their website. Thank you very much for listening.